Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Real Queens Talk. It's your favorite sisters, Bree and Kels. We are so thrilled to have you guys here for another episode. We have a very special guest on our podcast today. She is an amazing, extremely knowledgeable, transformational wellness coach, a motivational speaker. She's a radio host of Power 98.5, and she also interviewed us on that radio show not too long ago. And Alicia is everywhere. She is just really in the mix of motivating people and really just helping people to live their most fulfilling lives. And she has a focus on resilience. And so that's what we're going to get into today. So, everyone, please help me welcome Alicia Pozsony to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Bree and Kels. It's a pleasure to be here. And, there's so much going on in the world. It's the time for all of us to shine
Yes.
after this pandemic we've had, and everyone's coming into their own, doing their new things. It's just such a wonderful thing that you're doing here to highlight other women. And I'm glad to have met you and had you on my show. And, I know we're going to get into some good stuff today.
Oh, yes. Thanks so
Absolutely.
much for being here, Alicia. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. We're really glad that we met you as well. And with us being in this lane of, really trying to motivate people and really wanting to empower, especially women, it's always great when we can make connections with other women like you who, are in that similar lane, but also are so inspirational to us, and we definitely support everything that you're doing, and we're thankful for you inviting us on your show and for you being here today.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I found so amazing is that we're so close in proximity. We come from the same place. So
Right. Yes. Yeah.
it truly is
Yes,
a small world. So let's
it is.
something in
It
the water.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Alicia, we'll jump right in. Today we're gonna get into a lot of different things. We're gonna go over, tackling fear and just navigating failure, because that is an inevitable part of success, right? You kind of have to go through the trenches to reach the peak of that mountain, right? That whatever mountain you're climbing. But you give us a little bit about yourself and what made you embark on this journey of becoming a transformational wellness coach and a resilience expert?
Yeah, well, that's the question of the day. But no, I I came. Let me tell you a little about myself. So I am an author, radio show host, coach. I've been coaching for 10 years, doing career coaching.
Mm,
I've been impacting thousands of people there, helping them in their careers to advance. And then somewhat recently, I've started on the public speaking journey. I was requested to take part in
mhm,
women's leadership conferences to
mhm,
speak about resilience and different areas to empower women. So
mhm,
I feel like, once you step into your authenticity, like you'll hear from my story, the doors just start to open. So you can't be
mhm,
afraid to fail. You can't be afraid of the change. So again, that's a little bit about me.
mhm.
Um, I came from New Brunswick, New Jersey, where I was
Right.
raised. I was a welfare kid. I
Mhm,
was a minority in the school, in the town.
Mhm.
I ended up moving out of there, and we moved around a lot because my dad was an undercover cop,
Mhm.
and I also, my mother was mentally ill.
mhm,
So right from the start, after being born prematurely, I
mhm,
was just dragged through all this stuff. I didn't have support. I didn't have the structure that somebody might have to overcome and, excel when they reach
Mhm.
that level, right? So
Right.
I feel like I was taken through the challenges and they helped me to become stronger.
right.
So in that strength and going through it, I think I developed a natural ability to not resist the change, right?
Mhm,
for me, that was key. And I know a lot of people struggle with that. If you're afraid to take a change because someone is thinking, that you're not good enough, or somebody is judging you, you're not going to take the steps you need to ever get to a better place in your life.
Right.
You might have people in your family, they have expectations of you. So a lot of what I do is help people to understand that whatever you've been through, or what people are telling you, or the jobs you've had, really don't matter. If you're an individual and you're aligned with your soul purpose, you can do anything, right? Because you have greatness within. So that's kind of what my message is right now, that despite any challenges, you can really get to that place. You don't have to be afraid, and the challenges will come. The failure may happen. I won't say will, but may, on a different level. And when that happens, that's when you need to have this resiliency. So resiliency is being able to bounce back, and God knows we all have different things. We got to bounce back sometimes every day.
Alicia, you're so right. So many people have difficulty with changes and don't know really how to find find that resilience that's deep within them. I know we talked about that a little bit. We were on your show as well. So how has your experiences, your setbacks or failures, how have you overcome them in your life, and what impact did that have on your wanting to become a life coach?
Yeah, well, let me tell you, I lost 3 decades, 30 years that I could have done something had I not been afraid of failing. When, other kids were coming out of high school, going to college, meanwhile, I dropped out of high school. I started working. Luckily, I didn't have other things that kind of put me on hold, but I myself held myself back from the failure because I was afraid I would fail. I thought I wasn't good enough to go to college, wasn't smart enough. I thought I didn't have money, so that was another reason why I was held back. And when I finally went back to school after having my first baby at the age of 35, I realized that this was just a belief system that I had from my upbringing, from what I saw, from what people told me early on, that made me realize that I couldn't, I didn't have to lose all that time. And that's why I want to coach people today, because if you're in a job and you're not happy or you get fired, it doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It means that you have a different purpose. You're destined to do something else. I mean, we've all got our own talents. And so, there's jobs out there that you don't even realize you can use your talents with. Even if you think that you don't have a talent or you're not good at something, you have something, and that's what I do. I bridge that gap for people. They say they come to me, they want a resume because they want to get a job. But then when we get into it, we talk about what are their strengths, what do they love, and when I tap into that, I help them to find jobs, and they are so thrilled when they get hired, they get the job, they're making money or making more money, and it's just amazing to see. So my failures and believe me, I had a career of temp jobs. So I worked as a temp for when I started out. And then I worked as a consultant. So I would do 3 and 6 month assignments. So I didn't have health insurance or anything, but I was working. And I began to see that I was failing. So instead of getting recruited to be hired as a full-time associate of the company, they would say, okay, your assignment's done. Thank you. Have a nice day. So even though I did the work, I satisfied what they wanted, they didn't hire me. So I began to see that as a failure. I and I realized in my story, you can connect all the changes I had and being able to adapt to change. So it worked for me. Every company I worked for, every industry I learned, I got to become this career coach. So, you know, in the end, it all worked out, but there was a series of failures there, both on
Mhm.
my part and as well, that I had to face. And so when someone has a failure, I'll just tell you right now, just first know that you're not alone.
Right.
You have to kind of look inside. God made you special. God made you who you are. And that, has to lead you in a different path.
Right.
So failure will give you opportunities for growth. It
Mhm.
will challenge you to become who you are meant to be.
Love
Right.
that. Yes, I love
Absolutely.
the way that you really put that because it truly resonates. I know with me and for so many other people because, how many times, like you said, you get fired from a job or, you have a breakup and you're like, "Oh my gosh, like, this is my fault. I'm, maybe you have tons of breakups. Maybe you have not been able to have like a successful relationship or anything yet. And you feel like it's your fault and you kind of blame yourself, right, for these things, and then you have the negative self-talk and all these things. But in reality, it could just be that you have not met that person yet that you are aligned with. When it comes to careers, it could be that you just, like you said, you're not on your path. The universe has something else planned for you. You're trying to go this way, and it's like the signs are there, right? keep trying to pull you back the other way. Like, no, you're meant to go that way, but we resist so much because, like you said, we're the majority of us are afraid of change, and it's completely understandable. Change can be a scary thing, but once you learn to embrace that and look at it with a different set of eyes, sort of like a different mindset, with a positive mindset and a growth mindset, then you'll start to see things like, wait a minute, okay, that job was actually like, I was too good for that job, or I only needed to be there for a certain amount of time to learn this skill. And now I can use that skill in, an area that I'm really meant to be in. And that's sort of what happened with me as well. So I completely relate to that.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Right.
relationships, well, that's a whole nother thing, right? Because I learned this. I had two children, and my two kids were ADHD. They actually had neurological issues. And so we were challenged parenting these kids. Well, it tested our relationship.
Of
But
course.
going through that experience,
Mhm.
we went to a parent coach, and I never knew there was such a thing. But this parent coach actually showed us how we were parenting, and it was based on the relationships we saw from our own parents and our own upbringing. And so here my husband, for example, thought that he should be the authority and the kids should listen just because he's talking to them. And I'm trying to be patient and give them time, and so these poor kids were like confused. So we didn't even we had to get on that same page. But the point I want to make about that story is that the our what we see and we learn, it's generational.
Yeah.
So, being a woman, being a female, we might have expectations put on us,
Mhm.
or they might be continuing. So if you're with someone and they have expectations of you and the relationship doesn't work out, take a step back and look at it and see if
Mhm.
does that really work for you? And if it did work for you, then I'm sorry. we you know we all have that one that we remember, and
Yes.
the one that got away, right?
Right.
Yes.
But
Of
but in general, it's something, that self-talk, that negative self-talk, it's so hard to get away from sometimes,
Yeah.
because we
right.
strive for perfection,
Mhm.
and there is no perfection.
Absolutely. And so many people, like, they begin to self sabotage themselves because of the fear, but it's really the fear talking. It's not so much
Mhm.
you believing that you can't do it. It's really a matter of, like you said, the negative talk versus the positivity. If you put in more negativity than you put out positivity, you're bring in vice versa. You have to bring it in. You have to welcome it. You have to. I'm really huge on manifesting and following certain mantras, even like simple things like I'm going to be positive today, something like that. Just starting small.
Yeah.
How does people self sabotaging affect their have a factor in how successful they become in life?
It's true. One of the things people don't realize that you might say or think to yourself, "Oh, I don't look good in this outfit." Or you might say, "Oh, I'm not good at that," or "This person is better than me at something,"
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Those little thoughts, that is negativity.
Yep.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
instead of saying those things, even though you might think it, just think, "Wow, I admire that quality in them."
Mhm.
Or, we might do it with our clothes. "Oh, I'm gonna wear this next season. Let me put that away until next season when I am thinner," whatever, when I'm losing weight. But the truth of the matter is that we can't stop working on ourselves, right?
Mhm.
It's not like a one and done. We're not gonna just hit that success and be done, or get
Mhm.
that money and and, "Oh, yeah, now we're good."
Right.
That all that comes back to you, whether it's a daily thing
Mhm.
or something that will come back months later and tap you on the shoulder.
I agree with you. And even if you do like, achieve, you get the money that you've been wanting, or even like the prime example, like you were saying with, body image and losing weight, we see how easy, I won't say easy for everyone, but we see how, obviously people can lose weight, right? But the main thing, especially for me, would be maintaining the weight loss afterward.
Mhm.
And it all comes back to your original mindset when you embarked on that journey.
Yeah, and, when you talked about that maintaining, that's the
Mhm.
hard part because there's so many outside influences,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and when I one of the tips that I give to people, and I'll share that here today, is in the morning and in the evening, both
Mhm.
give yourself 20 minutes if you can, and in the evening, just write. Just write down whatever you're thinking, not your to-do list for tomorrow,
Yeah.
not the things maybe didn't get to today, but just write the things that are on your mind, good
Mhm.
and bad. And
Yeah.
then the next morning, look at what you wrote, because 9 times out of 10, when you look at that, you'll be able to cross something out or
Mhm.
change it, because you might say, "Oh, I didn't do enough today," or "I ate bad stuff today," or whatever it was, right? "I yelled at my kids today," or "I
Mhm.
maybe did." You'll look at that in a different way the next morning, and it really
Mhm.
helps you to kind of get a balance back, right? I think
Mhm.
everything is about a balance. So that's one of the ways that you can maintain.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that if you have a goal, so you want to
Mhm.
maintain your weight, you have to have a plan.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's hard for us. I mean, there's a lot of tools we have. We can keep it on our phone. You could weigh
Yeah.
yourself every day, track your
Right.
water, do different things. But you have to be intentional.
Mhm.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
also a lot about your mindset. It's a lot of mindset changing. It's a lot of training your mind and your brain to think differently and taking
Mhm.
steps to be able to do that. Like
I agree. And Alicia, something that you had mentioned, one of the tips that you mentioned, which was, writing down like your thoughts at the end of the night and then reading them back the next morning.
Mhm.
So that is in essence, self-awareness, right? That's like a part of
Right.
becoming self-aware, which is really crucial, really critical, right? In the
Mhm.
growth process or a healing process, or, even overcoming adversity. right? Being aware of some of those negative thought patterns or, limiting beliefs that may not even be yours, that may have come, like you said, from generations and from your parents, or from, it could even be like a teacher who made a comment when you were in first grade about your weight. And now you've always been self-conscious about your weight. And now you could have developed an eating disorder. You could have always struggled with, losing weight. You could have always had low self-esteem because of that one comment. So
Mhm.
how do you really tap into that self-awareness? What would you tell one of your clients who was struggling any of those things?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that self-awareness, it's the first step in my book, Emotional Strength Explained. It's
Mhm.
it's that honesty that you have to have.
Yeah.
People are creatures of habit. And so
Mhm.
if you're willing to be open and receive this seed of knowledge that we're planting,
Mhm.
you are going to be honest with yourself, and you have to admit that, right? You have to say, "Oh, I accept myself who I am today." If
Right.
you think that you have a problem and it's affecting your life, such as an eating disorder, such as depression, panic, anxiety, if you're going through something, reach
Mhm.
out and get the help of a coach, of a psychiatrist, of
Yeah.
reach out, because you can't just
Mhm.
sit with this day after day doing harm to yourself, because that's what is
Right.
happening. You're
Mhm.
either psychologically beating yourself up, you're so I ask them to look at themselves, ask the questions, and sit with the answers, right? So
Mm.
if you're struggling and you have that challenge of not being one with yourself, and let's face it, we know when we're in balance, right? We feel
Right.
good, there's nothing weighing on our mind, we're not either drinking it away, we're not like overeating in a way, we're not lying to people, right? We know when we're on the straight and narrow. So if you're
Right.
willing to be
Right.
honest, you can do that. Be honest, set your goals with intention, and
Right.
make a plan that works for you, right? Because it might
Mhm.
work for me to make a list every morning and check those things off every day, but
Right.
someone else, may not. They just need to say, "Okay, over the course of a week, I'm going to make sure that I only hit 2 fast food stops." Right?
Yes.
As an example, we,
Right.
each person has a different and that's the beauty of it, like we're all different
Mhm.
and different things work for us.
What do you
Absolutely.
think is the biggest obstacle that you've had to overcome and, dig deep down inside and, pull out that resilience from within?
That question, I was not expecting that question. um I'm going to be honest, my biggest challenge, and I still struggle today,
Mhm.
is abandonment.
Mm,
Mm.
My
interesting.
father, left my mother and I when I was 5,
Mhm,
and he changed his name so he
mm,
didn't have to
Mm.
pay the child support, and
Wow.
yeah, it was just bizarre.
mm,
And
Mhm.
my mom was not available to me, right, as the best parent. I mean, she did the best she could. She showed me love and what that was, and that was huge
mhm,
because I do lead with that in my life now. But the real thing was I didn't realize how it impacted me. So, for example, I was abandoned, so I thought I wasn't good enough.
mm,
So every time something happened in my life, whether it was a boyfriend and it broke up with me, or a friend had a problem with something I did, or
mhm,
a work thing where
Different
I
things,
didn't
right.
get chosen,
Sure.
it was really it was really that same thing that popped up.
yeah,
Instead of fully being able to learn from it at first, it took a long while. I realized that I had to be resilient and bounce back regardless of whatever happened to me in the past. It didn't
Mhm.
necessarily reflect on me who I am or who I wanna be tomorrow.
mhm.
Right.
So how did
So
you identify that though? Because I know that that's part of the struggle, right? Is, figuring out what the roadblock is and what's
Mm.
holding us back. How did you identify that it was, like the abandonment that was holding you back the most?
Well, I guess after I was a mother, I started
Mhm,
thinking more about my kids and what they were going through and what was normal. So
mhm,
I started realizing at that time that, hey, I didn't come from a normal background with somebody with 2 parents and,
mhm,
that whole path of went to college, I had support and everything. So, given that, I it was more important to me to make sure they had a normal life.
right.
But
Right.
at the same time, it was kinda like midlife, everything just kind of came to the surface. I
Mhm,
started doing some self-work, I got a therapist talking about how I lived my life, how I reacted to things,
mhm,
and that was something that I just always brushed off like, "Oh, I don't care about this thing," or I'm not good as another person," and I just kinda, like, brushed everything off, but
Mhm.
it led me to write the self-help book that I wrote, Emotional Strength Explained, where you it's a process that I went through and it works.
mhm,
So you first become honest with yourself, you then have to look at your situation and look at the support you have, look at your life, and really set your life with intention, with the goal in mind.
mhm,
So, that's where I had to be honest and say, "Okay, this father of mine didn't
Mhm.
make himself available, and
mhm,
it was his issue, his addiction, and his
yep,
life choices, but it wasn't mine," right? Like, I was born, and I'm just as good as anybody else, and so but it took talking about it, it took
Mhm.
working on myself, and it's still ongoing, like I said, it's
mhm.
not I
We
don't
all
think
are.
right?
Works in
Of
progress, I
course,
like
we're all a work in progress, Alicia. Absolutely. And just because
Yeah.
you've been through much and you brought yourself to just become the successful, amazing woman that you are today, what are some of the most effective strategies that you've used to turn these appointments, the abandonment issues, your lack thereof means growing up into more learning and stepping stones?
Mm. What's the other choice? Well,
Right.
we we if
Yeah.
we don't take what we've been through and learn from it and try to give
Mhm.
back to help others,
Mhm,
um, we like I said, I lost like 10, 30 years, and I
mhm,
I went from a place of sitting in this place of, "Oh,
Mhm.
I'm quiet, I'm mild, I'm just meek," and I didn't really understand that I had that greatness within. So,
yeah,
I started out by, doing resume writing and career coaching because I was good at it, and
mhm,
then I took that thing, and when I felt ready, I then expanded to career coaching and coaching people. um, I grew the thing that I was good at into something bigger, right?
right,
So I set that intention and I
mhm,
said, yeah, I can help them with their LinkedIn profiles back, I can
mhm,
do mock interviews. People were amazed at how I could get jobs when I would interview.
mhm,
Right.
And it was, it was something that I could then turn back around. So
mhm,
when people would come to me, oftentimes it wasn't just their career that they were facing. So we would get into their life
mhm,
and, "Oh, well, why is it that you want that job so much?" "Because
Mhm.
I need to make more money because my wife is on my back."
right,
"Well,
Right.
but you don't love doing numbers. Why do you wanna be an accountant?" "I don't. I play bass guitar. I wanna do music."
Mm.
So, what do you have any training, any skills? no, but okay, so here's what you do. You get that accounting job, but then you take the steps, small steps to get to where you want to go. And essentially that's what I did. If you're looking for a way to heal,
Mhm.
focus on your strength. Start with something that you're good at, that you love,
Mhm.
and see where it can go.
I definitely agree with
Right.
that, focusing or starting with your passion, first you gotta discover that, right? Because a lot of us, I for one, didn't when we have kids, especially women, we have kids, we become moms, we become wives, we lose ourselves, we lose our identity sometimes, and we don't even know what we like anymore, It's like, "Okay, well, my husband likes this, so I like this," and then you you gotta or my parents always like that, so that's why I like it, or I do this because my kids like it. So it's really like for me, it was really spending time by myself, getting to know myself, doing a lot of self-care, and meditation and spending time on with my self-improvement. That is what really started to open my eyes to what I was passionate about. Because even in my spare time, it was like, okay, what do I find myself doing? When I'm just, want to relax, when I just want to wind down, what do I want to do? I don't always want to just sit and binge watch a show. No, I want to create. I'm a creator because that's just who I am. So I'm like, I want to create things, whether
Mm,
it's, things on Canva, doing business cards, or, creating content, whatever it is, anything that I can be creative with. So that's how I discovered really, where my passion lies. And I think a lot of people struggle with that portion with, what do I like? How do I even know what I want to do? I feel like that most people say, I don't know. When you ask them, well, what is your dream? Or what do you want to do? So many people have that question unanswered.
mm. It's true, it's true. And a lot of times people stumble on it, right?
Yeah.
Like when you start thinking about it,
Hmm.
because you wanna make the money, right? So you think, "What can I do that's going to sell that you can actually do and enjoy?"
Yeah.
If you love sports, you can do something with that. You can coach kids. You can you can take that passion you like to create, if it's, art, or if it's something in the technology world, there's a lot of jobs that you may not even know of. So
Hmm.
take start with that thing that you like. If you close your eyes and you say, "I'm not going to work today, what are you gonna do instead?"
Hmm.
Mhm.
Take that thing and then put it into the search for the jobs, right? See what comes up. You might be surprised, and then reach out to somebody like me who can help you with your resume, and we can help get you on your right path, just to try. And don't be afraid, right? Like, try something. If you're let's say you're a woman, and they say, "Oh, work in an office or work at a certain type of job." You
Hmm.
don't If you want to be a chef, then you owe it to yourself, because you only have one life, right? So
Right.
the sooner you can, don't do what I did and just let your whole life go by.
Yeah.
Take the steps now.
Right. No,
Right.
I agree with that. I can't tell you how many people I hear that from that, "Oh, I wish I would have done this when I was younger," or, "I wish I would have done this," and, you don't wanna, live your whole life, and then you realize that, "Oh, I didn't take the chances that I could have taken," So, and I feel like if you're gonna bet on anything, bet on yourself, because we're
Right.
all worth it. And, I believe that the faster you fail, the faster you can get to the top. Like that's,
Mm,
just get it out of the way. And it's not to say that adversity isn't gonna always, show its ugly face, because we all have to deal with adversity and overcoming challenges. But it's you grow every time you do fail, you grow from that, you do learn from that. So it's something that you can just carry on with you into the next journey, into the next venture.
Right.
mm,
And also there's so many different courses that you can take out there for free at very low cost. Some of them have monthly or some people might even still qualify for some type of financial aid. If you want to make a career change, do it. I've done it several times. So many people have done it. You won't be the first, you won't be the last. And there's lots of resources out there, including Alicia, who can help you do so.
I have a free course
Mhm.
also on my
Oh,
website.
nice.
It's called the free skill building course, but it really does ask you to dig into yourself a little bit, and it'll help get you on that path as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love that.
Yes, everyone, please be sure to click on that link, and I'll be looking into it as well.
Yes.
Because like I said, I'm open. Some people, I like to keep my options open when it comes to certain things too. You never know. You might find a career that is the career of your dreams that you didn't know. You just didn't know yet. You didn't know. You don't know what you don't know yet.
Going back to sort of the beginning of the conversation when you were discussing, that fear of failure, and then Kels was mentioning that self-sabotage. How would you address that with a client if, their roadblock is fear? And like, how can you get a breakthrough in
Mm,
that person if that is just, if they just have that wall up and they have this, um, this mental roadblock of fear?
mm. Well, when you're afraid of something, you have to look at what's on the other side.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things that I try to do. You can stay where you are. You can make your minimum wage. You can
Yeah.
keep going to Taco Bell. But if you are ready to give up that greasy floor and move on to a nice cushy desk chair, if you're willing to learn and grow, then we can set a plan in motion. So if you want to reach success, you have to have a plan, you have to have goals.
Are definitely goals and a plan. That's especially when it comes to if anyone wants to be like an entrepreneur. Those are two of the main things that you should be starting with: a goal and a plan, and just work on it little by little until you get there.
And one of the things, like even myself, right, where I've done these things, I have these roles, I'm making the money, I'm doing
Hmm.
fine, I'm doing well. Some people say I have success, but I do two things. One is be curious, right? Always ask questions. Keep
Mhm.
yourself in a space where you can always be um, curious. It really
Mhm.
helps. If the second thing that I do is I constant learning. So I right now am enrolled in a program with Les Brown. Les Brown
Mm.
is one of the top motivational speakers. I
Wow.
could not believe it when I interviewed and they accepted me in this
Oh
program.
wow!
That's
I am
awesome.
I'm going to Miami to meet and learn from him in person.
Oh wow!
Wow.
That's awesome. That's so good.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Exciting.
Yeah, and it never would have happened if I didn't put myself out there. I had
Mhm.
to
Hmm.
prepare myself to fail. I had to
Hmm.
realize I say too much and I need to help to I can't change it on my own. So
Hmm.
here I am going for motivational speaker training. And I can't wait to tell you guys how it goes after. I wanna
Oh
Come
yeah.
back. Yeah.
yeah, I want to share the experiences with everybody to let you know that just when you don't even realize it, you can do things beyond your uh what's in your mind, you know?
We're so
Definitely.
excited for you, Alicia. I can't wait to hear all about it. Definitely
Me
can't
too.
wait.
Yeah, that's definitely an amazing opportunity, and like you're saying, we don't always realize what we're capable of, right? And so it's just so important to, like you said, always stay curious, continue learning, explore different interests. Like you said, try different things. There's nothing wrong with, trying different career paths or, exploring different interests, trying a new hobby because that hobby could turn into a career, something that you're actually passionate about. And then might not even feel like work for you.
Right,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. But Alicia, before we let you go, we just want to ask you one final question, which is what would you tell your younger self looking back to that little girl in New Brunswick, New Jersey?
Mm.
who had those abandonment issues, what would you tell yourself if you could look her in the face today? What would you tell her about resilience?
Mm. I would just tell her that, well, it's the same message I think I started with,
Mhm.
that you have greatness within, that you are wonderful, and you don't have to base your opinions or thoughts of yourself by what you have gone through, by what you have seen,
Mhm.
and just to keep moving forward. That's kind of the message. Don't be afraid to take those steps, and don't be afraid to ask for help or accept help. That's
Yes,
the other thing that
that's
a
a
lot
big
of
one.
people don't want to do. So, and again, I didn't do it for a while, but I was able to overcome the depression and the panic, the anxiety, and just excel and just keep going. That's
Mhm.
that's the main thing, is to ask for help and accept help if you need it.
That is so true because that's something that it's hard for me to ask for help. But Alicia, we are so happy that you came on our show. We had a great time with you today. Can you just let everyone know how we can reach you? Anything you have coming up? Anything you get? And then you just recently came back from this huge event overseas. Tell us a little about how we can reach you.
Yeah, sure. I have, well, you can reach me I'm on Instagram, A Pozsony, APOZSONY. My website is aliciapozzoni.com. You can also look into a couple events I have coming up. I have well, I just finished a heroic leadership conference, so that's a one I'm going to be sharing some of what I presented. But
Mhm.
the Reinvent Yourself conference that I have, navigating change using resilience, along with 3 other women who are going to do that with me. That's on April 1st. So you can go on my website and register if you want to reinvent yourself and be motivated. There's also 2 other events coming up, which is women's leadership summits for New York City and New York State. That will be April 23rd and May 9th. And again, I
Okay.
have the books available where books are sold, Emotional Strength Explained for adults. And then for kids, I have Fun Book, which I did for my daughter. So
Mhm.
you can look for those. I also have courses, the free course, which is the free skill building course, on my website. And just reach out if I can help give you guidance, if I can help give you some structure. If you're struggling with something, I'm great at bridging the gap. So if it's job related, career related, if you need tips, techniques, if you need contacts, reach out to me. I'm glad to help.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
Alicia, so
Alicia.
much. Yes, I definitely, I might need to reach out because
Yes.
I know that you have some of the tools, so many tools, and you're so knowledgeable. And, while we're still growing, we're all still on this journey, right, of growth. And like you said, you can't be afraid to reach out. And if there's someone, like, I love bringing on mentors for myself, because that just, that it's
Mm.
like such a necessary thing, in order for you to reach the next level. Everyone has
Mhm.
mentors, even the giants of the world, like the smartest people, the richest people, they all have mentors. So
Yes.
Absolutely.
so I'm definitely a strong believer in that. But everyone, we're going to wrap up. Just please remember that fear is a temporary obstacle, and failure is merely a lesson in disguise. Use that failure to be resilient. Use it as fuel to push you into your greatness. Everyone, like Alicia said, you have greatness within you. It's up to you to discover it and to utilize it. So, Alicia, thank you so much for being here. We truly appreciate you. Everyone, please go to her website, purchase her book, sign up for her courses and some of her talks. It is amazing. She's extremely motivational, so you don't want to miss out on these amazing events. If you are here on YouTube, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new episodes. Until next time, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Stay real and stay tuned, kings and queens. Bye.